And here we are. All right. So now intros, just like any other regular kickoff meeting that anybody here has been a part of at their corp life. We do intros, want to level set, make sure everybody knows who everyone is. There are 90 plus of you within the project. Obviously, no, not all 90 are here right now, but I guarantee you there's people on this call that don't know each other. So I thought it would be nice if we could go around in the agenda. There is like a little template if you are like, hey, I don't know what to say. I put some musts as far as your name, what SIG you're representing, working group you're representing, etc. And then some optional fun stuff. No, you don't have to say all of them. Our last call was like, let's just do all of them. And then intros were like 30 minutes. So if you're stoked to do all of them, please feel free. Favorite color, if your pet's right next to you and you want to show it your cat, feel free. So I'm just going to go around the heads of the Zoom meeting right now and call on all of you to do a quick intro. Cool. All right. So first person I see is Steve Wong. Who are you, Steve?
Hi, Steve Wong. I'm formerly co-chair of the VMware SIG that got folded as a cloud provider, but I'm co-lead of the IoT Edge working group, and I'm just getting a VMware user group started. So aspiring to have the first meeting before the end of this month. I software engineer for VMware. My favorite football team is the Green Bay Packers. So for you people in San Francisco, I hope you lose this coming weekend. I guess that's about it. Later on in the agenda or should I just put it in now, open discussion of tips and things. So I've got a tip for people running these groups, and that is be really careful about changing the meeting time of your SIG working group or whatever, because we changed the meeting time for the IoT Edge working group, I think it was a year ago, and people are still showing up. You see the Zoom notice that people are there for your meeting at the old original time, because that stuff lives in presentation decks up on YouTube, and people find it a year later. And it's just like, it's not a casual decision to change the time of your meeting, because I'd swear it took a year before even half the people switched over to the new time. So I'll leave it at that.
Yep. And there are some tricks and tips there that we can share with you. And that's exactly what these meetings can be about too. Because all of us that are knee deep in that Administrivia kind of have some quirks and some tips around there. So that's a good one that we can do for a parking lot. All right. I see the Goog room. You're next. I see Walter, John, possibly others hiding.
One of the chairs for the SIG Cloud Provider Working Group, or sorry, for the SIG. Favorite animal is an octopus, pretty obvious if you know me. And best way to get hold of me is Chef Taco with a K on Slack or on GitHub.
John Belmerick, one of the chairs of SIG Arch, and yeah, I'm here at Google, and I have 2 dogs, which is sometimes I think too many dogs.
What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Probably Slack, John Belmerick, just my whole name. I'm very creative that way.
Aren't we all? Is there anybody else hiding in there with you?
No, that's just the 2 of us today.
Just the 2 of. Anyway, all right, Nikita, what's up with you? Who are you?
Hey everyone, I'm Nikita. I am one of the technical leads for SIG Contributor Experience. I'm also on the steering committee. Best way to reach me would be through Slack, of course. Just Nikita as my Slack username and GitHub username and everywhere. And also, like, if you're assigning me something on GitHub. And favorite animal is cat.
Nikita is one of the rare that still is okay with notifications. Matt, who are you? I see you have a little cutie over there.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Matt. I'm one of the chairs of SIG Scalability, and this is Freddy, my cat. Not sure if you can see him. Best way to reach me, so my Slack and GitHub handle is mm4tt. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, another GitHubber. It's not often that we hear tag me on GitHub. Most people are like, Bart, it's so nice to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you all too. So I'm Bart Smikla, and I'm open source engineer at VMware, and I'm currently a co-chair of Infra working group. And if you want to contact me, I'm available everywhere as Bart Smikla, so it shouldn't be very hard to find me. And I have 2 cats and dog, which is very big, but it's not with me right now. And that's it at this point.
Well, I love your energy. I love seeing you around trying to help new contributors. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Michael.
All right, hi everybody. This is Michael. Let me actually start who I am. So I'm one of the chairs for SIG Windows. I'm also a core maintainer of Harbor, and I'm aspiring to also get more involved in the CNCF SIG runtime as well over the next couple of months. Easiest way to find me is probably on Slack, M2. I did not read GitHub notifications. It takes me sometimes weeks or months to get to them. I do get to them eventually, but by then the PR is merged. Yeah, favorite animal, dog, and last time we did colors too, so I'm gonna say orange, and the reason it took 30 minutes is because you gave the mic to Stephen Augustus, so.
Very true. David Eads.
Hi, I'm David Eads. I work on SIG API machinery and SIG auth. Best way to get in touch with me is using Slack. I'm Deads2K, and I work for Red Hat. No fun animals or anything like that.
Jordan, thanks for joining us, David.
Hey, I'm Jordan Liggett. I work in SIG auth, SIG API machinery, and SIG architecture primarily. I'm Liggett everywhere, GitHub and Slack. Probably the best ways to get in touch with me. I don't have any fun animals. I have 4 kids, so that probably counts. They're fun.
And I like how you say primarily as if you just didn't list off every SIG we have. So he's just like, oh, only in these few SIGs, nothing. Thanks for joining. Andrew.
I'm Andrew. I believe the compiler SIG water.
Andrew, you got serious. Yeah, you got serious background stuff. I'm gonna skip you just for right now, and I'm gonna come back in a little. All right. Then we've got George.
I work with Andrew, so I can vouch he's pretty good. Stuff. I'm George Castro. I work at SIG Contributor Experience, and generally speaking, part of my job is to make myself available for SIG co-chairs and tech leads if you need stuff. So normally I'm the person who fixes your YouTube videos if they get messed up, that sort of thing. During work hours, Slack, otherwise email, asynchronous. I'm pretty vigilant about my email. I know a lot of people aren't.
Andrew did say in chat, okay, first time running Zoom on Linux, LOL. So yeah, feel free to test any Zoom.
My Zoom's running on Linux and it sounds fine.
I know, feel free to use this meeting to test all of our Zoom stuff too. That's what we're here for.
Here it comes, so I think we're good.
Awesome. And then Abdullah, you're next outside of Andrew. Or last.
I'm Abdullah. I'm co-chair SIG scheduling. I work for Google, and yeah, like Liggett, I don't have a favorite animal, but I have 1 kid and another on the way.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Best way to reach me is AHG-G on both Slack and GitHub.
Awesome. There are these little Kubernetes newbie onesies that we can get you to for when the big day comes. All right. So yay for, Andrew, is your internet working? Do we want to test one more time?
Hey, is it good now?
Yeah, that's crystal clear.
All right. Yeah, I had to switch my MacBook and then it just worked. So yeah, I'm Andrew. I work at VMware. I co-lead the cloud provider SIG with Walter. Favorite pet dog, and I just had a newborn baby boy 6 weeks ago, so I'm very sleep deprived. That's it.
And did you get a onesie?
I did.
I feel like
I did get a onesie.
Okay, good. We're like raining onesies right now. We're like onesies. All right. So thanks for entertaining me with all the intros. This is good too, because everybody that was on the call on Tuesday can now listen to all of your intros in like fast forward. So I'm sure we'll all sound really fun. The next thing that I wanted to do in this meeting and all meetings go forward is have a little announcement section. This is just for things that are applicable to you, how you run your groups, and then open the floor to you all. So if you have announcements for other people that cross-cutting SIGs absolutely need to know, this is that time. So first and foremost, yes, there's a contributor experience survey. We actually have hit our goals as far as our numbers, so that's great. However, we could use some more vets, meaning if you have a group of people that you work with that have over 2 years of contributing to Kubernetes experience, please have them still take the survey. That is, I would say, open for another 24 hours, but we're pretty much good. So we'll have some pretty data and infographics and things like that as far as like what contributors want to see out of contributor experience priorities. So like workflows and stuff like that. So do me a favor, just make sure your Slack channels and stuff like that, you get the word out. Again, there's only 24 hours left on that. There is a new community meeting, and George is on the line to both answer questions and also give a high level of what the heck happened and what the current state is. So George, do you want to take it away for what's up with the Thursday community meeting?
Yep, which is in 40 minutes. I'll actually have to leave soon to prep for it. So we saw declining community attendance at the community meeting, and I sent out a little survey and asked around. Ends up there's just way too many meetings in the community. People are getting tired of it. So what we're gonna do is we switch that to a monthly cadence. And I was also getting feedback from SIG chairs who were like, wait a minute, I have to give a community meeting status update and then give that community meeting status update again at KubeCon. I got stuff to do, blah, blah, blah. So moved it to a monthly cadence. So that's gonna happen the third Thursday of every month. That's not gonna change. And then what we're going to do is I submitted a PR to the Kubernetes governance to actually give you more options on where to do a status update. So we do have transparency requirements. A SIG is supposed to like tell the community what's happening. And before, you would just do that at the community meeting. So if you look at the link in the notes, there's like a little tracker. I scheduled everyone when they're going to go. This kind of works out. You do a community meeting status update. Probably about twice a year, but then KubeCon, your status updates with there would kind of count as a transparency requirement as well. So the idea being you can give, as I'm sure most of you have done before, you do the status update at the community meeting, or if you can't make it, normally you would cancel it because it was weekly. Now we can't really cancel it. We don't have room for it. So what you would do instead is fill out the little template anyway, and then just send that to the mailing list instead. Or if you're traveling or something and you send a representative, or worst case, you can hop on Zoom with me. We'll record a little video and we'll do your status transparency update. So on paper, this should remove a lot of work from you, so you're not, doing the same thing over and over and over again. But I would like feedback on that. And also, last thing, we're going to try to get a new host for every single monthly meeting. They will be pinging you way earlier than usual. So normally for your Thursday status, we'd ping you on Monday. This time we're going to ping you at the beginning of the month. They're going to be a brand new contributor who's looking for a way to contribute. So we want to get new people up there. So we appreciate if you're welcoming to them and that kind of things. So I have a little status checklist that they follow on when to remind you. They're going to remind you at the beginning of the month. They'll be available to help you with your slides and all that kind of stuff. And then they'll give you a final reminder the day of, and then the Monday before, as well as sending out emails to the Kubernetes dev list. And hopefully that will work out better for you all. Anyone have any questions? Sorry, that was really long-winded.
All right, so everybody put your chair hat on really quick. What do you understand what is owed of you as far as community updates are concerned to the project, and when and how If not, now's the time to ask George, and then we can like go step by step. If not, then obviously, you know, George's DM, you know, where to get us in contributor experience. Some folks have asked George for sort of like a checklist. I saw David come off, and I think I saw a hand in the Walter room. David, did you have a question? Probably not then. I know Steve or Walter, did you all have a question?
I did just the, now that it's down to once a month, I assume Thursday, same time, but is it a consistent offset like third Thursday, or is it going to shift?
It's always third Thursday. Yep.
Because just a thought that you tend to run into occasional things where it conflicts with a KubeCon or a major holiday, in which case maybe shifting it by a week rather than canceling wouldn't be a bad idea, right?
Yeah, check the schedule. So we are accounting for holidays, and there's 1 month where it conflicts with KubeCon and 1 month where it's like in between a KubeCon. The governance says we have to be transparent about our updates, and if it ends up landing on a KubeCon thing, it's just an issue of me grabbing the playlist of all your statuses from YouTube and sending that to the dev list, you know, and then that kind of satisfies the requirement.
Okay, got it.
And also the template that I provide, it's in the notes. That's like an open living document. So if that's not working for you, or you want to add a thing or remove a thing or whatever, you're totally free to do that, or let me know if you want me to add more information or things like that. So nothing's really set in stone. It's really what's useful for you to get the information about what your SIG is doing to the community. And however we do that is up to us. So that's all I have.
Chef Taco in chat says just +1 to the idea of a checklist. It's not really Chef Taco, it's Walter.
Yeah, you know what? I'll probably add it to the template itself. So it'll be like, it is the first of the month. You should be on this step or something like that. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We can do that. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right.
See you all later.
We're good for survey and community meeting. It looks like Steve popped a note on there about scale. Steve, do you want to take literally 30 seconds and then we're going to go to the next section?
Sure. The Scale Conference is a large open source conference in Los Angeles held annually. It's not KubeCon, but it does get maybe 4,000 people. And it has a 4-day container and orchestrator track, so there's lots of Kubernetes stuff. It's too late to talk, although I think you still can submit lightning talks, and a lot of the people on this call in the Kubernetes community shows up at it. It's not a commercial conference, so you can get there if you look for a discount code for about 40 to 50 bucks. And you can also bring your kids, which is a little unusual, but they have a track on Saturday for K through 12. That's it.
Thanks, Steve. And then does anybody else have any other announcements for chairs or tech leads as a chair or tech lead? All right. Yep, I just kind of put you on the spot, but for future meetings now, you know, if you want to say something to a chair, another chair or tech lead, and you want to do it like via Zoom instead of chat, now you have that opportunity. All right. Next is my favorite part, which is open discussion. Looks like we have maybe a little less than 30 minutes, which is nice. 3 things that I wanted to go over is obviously a meta kickoff question. What other things do you feel could be valuable to you from this meeting? And just to play, you know, just to give you a shot of what the other folks said in Tuesday session, things like guest speakers for like certain community topics. Remember, you're running community meetings, so like how to be a better facilitator, how to resolve conflicts. This meeting is really anything that you can think of as far as skill building is concerned. There's also the Administrivia element, which is like, okay, how do we actually really run a Zoom meeting again? I've been like, you know, clicking buttons, but how does this really work? We can do things like that. Anybody have any ideas that they wanted to come up with now? Obviously, this is a meeting that we can constantly evolve, but any discussion points? We'll take that as a no. All right. Well, I mean, just the fact that you all are here means you're interested in seeing what's going on with other chairs and tech leads, which is good. Some other things that came up with parking lot ideas that I did put at the top of the meeting that came up more than a few times, and other discussion topics actually was two very important topics, which is more on how to mentor and set up mentoring programs for reviewers and approvers, like actually how to do that. Not necessarily like conceptual and like why it's important. And then also like how to do succession planning for both yourself and other folks that have other roles. This is sort of ties in with mentoring as well. And then today I wanted to talk a little bit more about those two specific things, specifically one, who is taking your place? Have you thought about that? And yes, if you say the answer is no, I haven't, that's fine too. And then the other one is getting in contact with you. One of the reasons why during the intro I had in the template getting, what's the best contact is we'll actually have somebody go through these videos and they're going to check and they're going to take a list of the chairs and tech leads and what your best contact is. Because a lot of folks have really hard times getting a hold of folks as far as getting information out to community groups, especially that has to do with release. You can see in that linked issue in the agenda that a former release lead just had the time of their life trying to get a hold of people to ship features out the door. I'm sure others have had similar experiences. I have similar experiences. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody on the line has experienced that as well. So my discussion point that we should do right now is, what's the best way to get acknowledgements from 40 community groups, especially the leaders of those community groups? You can see the Tuesday notes as well, but anybody have any initial thoughts there? I'll kick it off. So some folks on the Tuesday, like I'm not going to necessarily name names, but I mean, you can watch the recordings. Some folks on Tuesday's call thought, we have a mailing list that's Kubernetes-SIG-leads. Why are we not using it / utilizing it to its fullest extent / people not reading it? Why is that not our baseline? Other folks said, no, that's a terrible way to get a hold of me. You should definitely direct email me. Or other people said that wasn't scalable. Should we use Slack? So obviously you can see there's like so many different mediums. You just heard it in your intros as well. There's so many different ways to get in contact with you all. So should we set a baseline, and do we think that that's acceptable? Meaning, like, if we come back and say, the following, we need you to read the following communications for the following things. Does that make sense in your world?
I do find it reasonable for people to be able to say, I prefer to be contacted like X, where X is some reasonably constrained list, like not carrier pigeon, right? But if I want to be contacted on Slack and you're trying to get me, I don't think that it's unreasonable to expect that someone would use the name I put in the community calls and in the community repo to find me on Slack to get an answer, especially if they want one. And if someone else wants email, I mean, it's hard to make people change their workflows.
Right.
I think we have to differentiate between I want to reach everybody and I want to reach an individual. I mean, Slack for reaching an individual makes sense, but if I've got to reach out to everybody for some, policy change that leads really need to know about, like, I don't want to ping everybody individually. And
well, I mean, we have the Slack channel for that, right? I'm not saying you have to direct message me, but there's the chairs and leads Slack channel.
That's true. Is everybody on it, I guess, would be the question. Is everybody in the channel?
Everybody is on it, but I know for a fact that there are several people that don't even use Slack that are chairs.
Well, right. But like, if you want to reach everyone, is it really unreasonable to communicate with more than one mechanism so that you're likely to get most people?
Yeah, I think it's for group communications saying, here's the mailing list, here's the Slack channel. Policy changes and announcements that everyone needs to be aware of will be sent to both of those places. pick the one that works for you, and then assuming that once things are sent to those two places, people are responsible for having seen it. That seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, to me too.
Yeah, I'd agree. For sending it out to the group, just do it for both, and you don't have to pick which is better. For targeting individuals, I'll make one observation that I believe sigs.yaml only records a GitHub name and doesn't ask you for a Slack ID. So maybe it would be a good idea to add that, because there isn't as far as I know, there isn't a way to look it up.
Yeah, that's definitely a great idea, Stephen. Many times I had to actually go try to find who's who. And, with Tim Sinclair and Tim Auclair, the first couple of months, I used to email the wrong guy or message the wrong guy.
Yeah, there are some of us with very common names to where I've worked at places that have 6 people sharing my identical name. And I think it's down to 3 at the moment, but it might seem easy to look up somebody's name in Slack, but people use aliases, and sometimes there's name collisions too.
That was actually one of the things that I've heard from past release leads as well. I actually have a note. Hold on, I'm getting the note out so I can share the exact quote. Here it is. Put your Slack handle in your GitHub bio and vice versa. If you're a chair, the amounts of times I've had to guess a chair's Slack handle via their name is nuts. So I guess something like that. Oh no, did I freeze? Oh no, okay, good. No, I see Steve's head moving. So I'm wondering if we can give you all like a template of like where to put bios and like what if you should put things in your Slack bio or something like that. To like better identify you to folks, but at the same time, I don't want you to get plowed over with inquiries either. So anyway, this is a rolling thing. I'm gonna type up some notes from listening to Tuesday's session and this session, plus all of the preferred contacts that you've all have already given, and come up with sort of like a little mini proposal of a communication strategy for chairs and tech leads. Does that sound cool to everyone?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. And then we can all knit and bike shed over it later. But I feel like that's really important because even a lot of you as chairs and tech leads have told me that you have issues getting a hold of other chairs and tech leads. So I think it's important that we all just at least know what it is. And we haven't really had too many chairs and tech leads communication pipelines until like the last 12 months. So we're definitely getting better, I think. So thanks everybody for that discussion. So anybody else want to wrap that up? Or Andrew, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I actually wanted to add something to the previous topic about future value to this meeting.
Yeah.
So like one thing I struggle with a lot is talking to other SIGs or SIG leads on getting support for them for a task or initiative that I think is important for my SIG, but I don't know how to reason with the priority of how busy the other SIG leads are to borrow their time to support things that we may need to do together, right? So like pretty much things that require like cross-SIG support from other SIGs. I feel bad asking other leads, and it's hard to reason about priorities by just going to other SIG meetings. So I think like a really good use of this meeting would be more like one-to-one time between SIG leads to determine like which items for a certain release is more important and how we can divvy up the time properly so that we can work together to get those certain items done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I mean, from our facilitation standpoint, I mean, we can definitely add like a section, maybe even at the end, like for that cross collaboration. And then if folks want to drop, where it's not applicable, they can drop kind of thing. Anybody have any other thoughts to Andrew's suggestion? All right, Andrew, let me put that down. Thanks so much. All right. And then one of the last discussion points, and then of course, if you all have others, we can do those too. But one of the last things that I wanted to mention, of course, is you. It's so important that we think about ourselves as chairs and tech leads too, and how we get support, who's going to take our places, are you going to do this forever? Oh my gosh, that's very daunting. I'm thinking about that. I actually am no longer the co-chair of contributor experience as of yesterday. I'm officially emeritus. So I have been going through this myself personally. Does anyone here have a succession plan? That's fine too. That's what we're here for. The Tuesday call was very similar. I had a lot of people who said they weren't sure, haven't thought about it. And honest to goodness, I didn't either. And that's why I feel like it's so important, because I can't believe that like I haven't asked people on my mailing list. Like here I am, contributor experience, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've never said, hey, does anybody here, interested in being chair ever? Do you feel like how to build yourself a succession plan would be a good topic for this meeting at some point? David, I saw you come off mute a few times. Did you have something to say?
Yeah. Is there any standard templates? And
no, we've got nothing. That's why like this is like the tumbleweed topic.
Since we have more than one chair in general, like I don't think like if I suddenly won the lottery and said peace out y'all, I have confidence that like Daniel would keep the wheels moving until he found someone else to come in.
The idea
of Fede would keep the wheels rolling until
I'm sorry. There has been a concept, and I've been thinking about this concept myself, of a chair tech lead shadow program. Because a lot of folks in the community feel that the chair role is one that isn't like a tech lead where you're making decisions, so to speak, and therefore can get other people involved at a level that isn't necessarily code decisions.
Being able to control the agenda and the time spent on individual topics and to prioritize when they are important is not necessarily a role that doesn't require significant domain knowledge.
Right, and that's why like if you build a shadow program, folks can kind of see what you're doing, so it's like more learning by doing, and then you're giving them, kind of like the release team where you give them sort of some tasks occasionally, and then you build them up in that kind of a role. What do you think about that?
I would like to see activity in the SIG before we try to do that with someone, but it wouldn't bother me. Right? I don't see that as a starting point though, right? I see it as come, work, and then go from there, as opposed to, hey, I want to do this. Let's just start at the top.
Yeah, I kind of feel similarly. The idea that a SIG that has more work than it has people to do the work can fix that problem by targeting leadership positions ahead of just help with the work involvement. I'm not sure how that would actually work. Like to be specific, if you're asking someone if they have time to help in an area, or if they're in a leadership position, if they have time to help and also train and mentor, the latter takes more effort than just helping with the work. And if we're short-staffed on just getting sort of minimal capabilities staffed, then adding like mentoring, shadowing on top of that, I'm just not sure practically how that would impact what SIGs are able to do. I think it might be more helpful to be really concrete about the work that a SIG is doing and make sure that that work is staffed. What I see a lot is lots of ideas, and most of them are like 0 to 20% staffed. And I think that is probably a more pressing issue in the SIGs that I'm involved in, is just to scale back the commitments of the SIG and make sure that commitments are actually staffed. And then once they're staffed, I agree with David, like once there's a pool of people who are actually doing work, then taking that pool of people and developing leadership and promoting to leadership positions there makes a lot of sense. I think that's really great.
The other thing that I've discovered is the definition of a chair is different depending on who you ask. One of the things that I wanted to suggest based off of the Tuesday call and even this call is we almost spin up a mini working group. And I'm not talking about like SIG's YAML working group, just like a few of us working together group on like what it actually means to be a chair for Kubernetes. Because obviously we have the governance docs, but I still can't seem to get people to agree on that's all that they do. For instance, I hear like, oh, no, I do more than that. So I'm wondering if it would be worthwhile for us. Walter, you were about to say something?
I mean, it's a side point, but I think we also need to be clear on what the requirements are. I know we mentioned this on Tuesday, but like understanding whether or not all the chairs can come from the same company, as an example, seems like something we don't even know what the answer to that is.
Agreed. So like clearer requirements, clearer like what it is and what it means. I know some people even define some people might define chairs differently as well in their charters. Any other thoughts on this topic? I think somebody was going to come off mute, John.
Yeah, what exactly problem are we trying to solve by, like, is it not working? I mean, yes, I see that the succession planning maybe isn't working, but it seems like each individual SIG can, if it's not working for an individual SIG, then maybe they should bring that up, and we can, and if there's a few of them, we can talk about it. But like beyond the succession planning, what problem are you trying to solve by, say, making it more formal? Like, I don't know, the VMware cloud provider group or the IBM cloud provider group wouldn't have anybody. I guess it's not a whole SIG. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a working group.
I'm trying to understand. Like, I don't want to do process for process sake.
Yeah. Well, some of the reasons are burnout, people feeling responsible for their groups and then burning out. These are real life, legit things, y'all, that people have come to me about. Or people who have left jobs and no longer paid to do the thing. So therefore and then all of a sudden they don't have another chair, scrambling around for chairs. I'm just giving you some straight up examples over the last 12 months. And then also from like the contributor experience side, like establishing programs across the board to help out certain issues or certain problems is really difficult when everybody's not on the same page about those things. Like setting up mentoring programs for like reviewers and approvers is super hard because, you know, all of our ways of doing things within our community groups are different. And one of those, you know, root problems is some of the definitions of the roles and what people do. And that makes it very hard for contributors, both new and current, to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Looking to, you know, just, I guess, make it within the environment.
Right.
So, and I mean, like, it's like I hear a lot too from other current contributors. I mean, vets 2+ years that they have tried to like help out other SIGs and like get involved, but the processes were either too different or it was just like too much and they just like threw their hands up and said, whatever, let them do their own thing. So just trying to solve some of these human things, right? And it's really hard in a decentralized environment to solve some of the human things when everybody's doing different things, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's why we're here. I mean, that's why I set this meeting up in hopes that maybe we could come together on a couple terms, or if not come together, then we all sit here and share every month what we do differently, in hopes that like that different thing could be good for your group too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the value in like learning from each other and then having a way to all communicate. I'm just not sure if formalizing the roles beyond where they already are is necessary. But that's an open question.
One of the things that we value a lot is decentralization, just because it helps us scale. And so the idea that you're going to have perfect consistency across a decentralized organization probably isn't very realistic. I think if we look at the goals for the SIGs, like what are they trying to accomplish? And then goals for contributors. Those aren't always the same. So some SIGs that work with really sort of low-level fundamental aspects of the system might have a very different prioritization or roadmap or method of operating in terms of like stability and like how long it takes to make any change or roll something out, than one that is sort of building on top and is doing more experimental things or like trying to enable a much broader use case, a set of use cases. And so I think each SIG describing like what are our priorities, what is currently staffed, like what are people working on, and of those priorities and those projects, are there areas that would be good for someone new to the project to get involved? Like kind of degree of difficulty self-assessments. Like, is this a, I mean, we do it on the issue level, sort of a good first issue or help wanted types of things, but I think there are some projects that are more approachable to someone new to the community and some that are less, and just being upfront about that and trying to understand like how familiar should you be with the community and the whole project before you like try to do a major feature in this area or something like that. So that's not really making everybody run their roles the same, run their SIGs the same, but it is kind of the one page, here's what's going on with the SIG. Like if I'm a contributor trying to figure out like where would be good to get involved, that might be helpful.
I feel like you'll see though that I don't think all of our SIG chairs even agree on the baseline of what a chair is. So I'm like I'm hearing you and like what you think it is, but other chairs would disagree with that. And I don't know if any of those are on the line right now. So that's what I mean. It's just like we can't even get a baseline of folks to agree to do updates, for instance, at the community meeting. So it's just like at that point, like, and go ahead, Steve. Steve's been waiting for a while. I apologize, Steve.
I'm just going to throw out a whole bunch of comments. So going back 5 minutes ago, there were comments about how much formal procedure do we need. And the fact is, some of these SIGs or working groups or user groups are quite different in what they're trying to do or take on than others. And because they're trying to do different things, I think too much formalism would be, and structure would be bad. You know, a user group, for example, isn't like a SIG at all. It doesn't own code. So the moment you tried to put in place things related to code, it gets a little messy. Now, you could fork the instructions, but I don't know. I don't think it's that dysfunctional now. With regard to, advice on how you do things that would be useful for people in leadership positions of SIGs, working groups, whatever, I think that just some lessons in things like how to conduct a face-to-face or, SIG activities like that would be valuable. I know I've started out and floated across a lot of SIGs, and my key takeaway is that you learn a lot from seeing a well-run SIG. you learn from seeing something done well, but you can see it done wrong 5 times and you still learn nothing other than some things of what not to do. But it's better to learn what to do. And I've been to enough SIG meetings over the course of years that I'm not going to name any names, particularly on the bad ones, but I mean, there are some very well-run ones like Storage SIG that I think sitting and getting involved there, just being part of those meetings and watching it done well, teaches you a lot about how to do it yourself later. With regard to a succession plan, when the SIG is big, like Storage, when you've got consistently meetings with 20 or more people, I think the best succession plan is simply a vote from the members. The members know who's been going there routinely. They've seen these people engage in group activity, and I'd rather see a vote rather than an appointment. But on the other hand, you do have SIGs that have meetings with 5 people, and maybe that's a different beast. Once again, maybe it's a good thing to leave it unstructured with no firm rule on how you accomplish a succession, because they're operating differently. But my advice for somebody doing it, I'd be skeptical of somebody coming in to be a SIG leader if they've never been to a meeting of that SIG before. And if they've never been to any SIG meeting before, then that seems like a definite bad idea, right? You have to have been a participant in hopefully long enough and at a big enough scale to have at least seen it done well in the past. Anyway, those are my thoughts.
All right, we have maybe a few minutes left. It looks like folks are dropping now. Any other last minute discussion points for anything that we've talked about? And again, this is sort of just our kickoff. I plan to hopefully, like I said, have some more like how-tos and demos in the future meetings. So this is loose. No, nothing else that you have to get out during this meeting. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's literally, I want to stress it's 90 plus of you all. It's huge, humongous. And just like Steve hit on, it's like every group does run their thing differently. So it's like, I wonder if there are any baselines outside of, what we've already established, like, templates or checklists or.
I wonder if anybody's ever done a survey of members. If you were going to establish a model of what SIGs really seem to be working well, maybe a good way to do it is to poll the members, just asking them, are the meetings of the SIG valuable to you? And if we can find the outliers that seem really good, then we can look at what they're doing differently and try to reproduce it. On the other hand, you'll probably find some outliers where you couldn't poll them, because I don't want to badmouth anything, but there have been some where I've dropped in on a meeting and said, this is a loser, I'm never coming back here. And, it would seem like maybe if you have stats on Zooms that people show up and never come back, or show up and drop after 5 minutes. I don't even know if Zoom gives you those kind of stats, but if you had them, that would be very interesting data that, a SIG is running their Zoom meetings and people are routinely reattending, which tells you they get value out of it. And they do it, month after month or week after week versus one and dones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, that'd be a good report card for SIG leads. I'd like to, you can sort of intuitively get a feel for that, I suppose, but it would be better to have the stat thrown at you in your face.
I definitely like the idea. Because obviously we do the contributor experience survey, but it's 20 plus questions already in 9 minutes, and it's a lot of high level stuff. So I'm wondering if it would be beneficial to poll some of your 5 questions at most, not necessarily right now because they just probably filled out another survey, but at some point in the year, hey, do you think these meetings are valuable? What else could we do that would be better? And obviously it's anonymous. You don't have to, you're collecting information about what other people might think. I don't know. I think that sounds like a good idea. And then you might learn something different too about how you run things. I mean, like, we've been changing the community meeting for at least 2 years straight, just based solely on survey and focus group feedback. So I don't know, might be something to think about.
Well, there are analytics done in the entertainment industry, TV networks and movies that actually watch, now that set-top boxes are plugged in, and watch behavior where people start watching a show and then drop off, and they get a baseline of what's to be expected. It would seem like you could do this for SIG meetings too, to get a automated feel for how well these things are working out for the prospective attendees.
All right, thanks, Steve. All right, that wraps it up. 10 o'clock. If you're going to the community meeting, have a nice community meeting. If not, we'll see you in February.
Okay, bye.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.